Miss Universe podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Miss Universe podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Miss Universe podcast.
Hello and welcome to Emma's podcast. In today's podcast, we're going to be talking about the invisible milestone, celebrating the progress no one sees. So that should be an interesting podcast. Here we go. I'm listening to my voice. That sounds what I just said, but no. I'm just adjusting my, what do you call it? Headset. Oh my goodness, cannot find my words right now. Oh goodness gracious. So, not all victories come with applause. This is so true. Some of the most courageous steps we take, choosing not to react, show up, vulnerability, healing trauma, forgiving someone, go completely unnoticed. So, in this episode, we're going to be talking about the love letter to quiet triumph, because a lot of things can happen in life that nobody noticed. We've been conditioned to only celebrate external achievement, promotion, wedding, followers. But what about the inner self? And why recognizing inner growth is vital for self esteem and long term transformation. Because we don't talk enough of this. Not that we need to parade around, but I think if we simply acknowledge it and having a moment to celebrate our own achievement, I think it's awesome. Because the emotional power of tracking your own wins, even if no one else see them, is essential. It is incredible. I'm going to go back to 2023 and being the unsung hero. Not that I want to blow my own horn here, but just to share that story with the fire when it was just like 2023, I think was. Yeah, I should write a book on 2023. I'm going to call it 2023. I think I'm serious. I'm going to take note now and write it up, because that was a freaking epic year. Not in a good way. Not in a good way. But 2023, that would be the title on this one. Seriously. 2023. That's funny. I wrote 2322. Very interesting. Okay. So back to 2023 and the unsung hero. When the condo, because again, regardless of what people said, somebody did a fire in their fireplace. The fireplace wasn't cleaned up. The flue, something happened with the tiles and the flue inside of that fireplace, inside of the chimney. And imagine you living in a fourplex, and there is another fourplex attached to you, next to you. So the fire went inside of the flue and basically rapidly started to burn quietly the roof. So the smoke was going outside. It wasn't inside. So that's mean the what do you call it? The fire alarm were not privy to it, because the smokes were directly, the roof was cooking itself, because those were foam. I believe it was, somebody mentioned to me, it was foam, what do you call it? Insulation. So it was basically cooking in itself, and nobody heard it. There were no alarm, there were nothing. And the universe woke me up because I sleep lightly, especially when there is danger. I always wake up. This is one thing. When something happens at night and there is a danger coming up, I'm always up at least 15, 20 minutes before things go down, which is a good thing because that happened in the past. But it's very interesting when you're being faced by a situation where you wake up, you're seeing smoke outside, you're half awake, and you're like, oh, that looks like by the chimney, not to worry, not a problem. Then you lay down, but you don't go back to sleep. Then you hear that whoosh, very fainted whoosh, and you're like, oh, FML. I hope it's not. And because that sounds like fire spreading. And there's a very specific sound, and it's not a very high level sound too. It's a very, very fainted sound. You go back, run back, check, back again, because at the beginning I assume it was the crackling. I assume it was rain on the windows, but it didn't make any sense. Well, the second time you go back and what you see is the chimney that goes. Now that makes more sense actually. That was from the other side coming your way, just enveloping the entire chimney, and you see the roof on fire, literally on fire that time, in the smoke. So you become the unsung hero because now you're calling the cops for getting the fire department to come in. You're dressing up because you're like, oh, I'm not gonna go back naked. That will not be the thing we want. So you just put the pants, shoes on, pick up your keys, pick up the dogs, I picked up my laptops. That's the thing I took. And I didn't know how long we had actually. And you start to wake up everybody in a building, and everybody shows up, blah blah blah. But you realize after the entire nightmare, I'm not gonna call it a tragedy, but this is life. So it happened every day, somewhere around the world. Things where you become a unsung hero, and you got not the understanding at that time what you have done by saving 7 other families. You realize this after you lay down, eyes wide open because you cannot sleep. You're in a hotel, and you're like, oh boy, if somebody is stupid enough to light up a candle or to do something, you start to like, okay, I'm going to sleep with one eye open. I'm not, I'm like, this is not good. But you're laying down and you start to realize, it dawned on you that you had to carrying that burden. Because for me, it was a burden at that time. I did what I had to do and saved those families, because I would have not wake up, would have been gone. By the time somebody would have seen something, the entire 2 buildings would have burned to the ground, actually. There would have been casualties. But you're laying down and you're like, wow, that was horrifying. The fact that nobody else is, no, none of the, well, one person did actually, thank me. And it's not a reward at all, because the rest, the people you deal the way you deal with tragedy. Some people will be grateful, some, their brain cannot comprehend and won't comprehend, which is fine. But when you're being put in a place where you're the one who actually has done the step to save everybody else's, it's a burden. Like I said I was talking with, there was Dr. Michael, and I said to him, yeah, I wouldn't known that. I would not volunteer for this one, because it's a burden. Some people wants to be the hero in their own movies. This is great. I love it. But some don't, and I would rather not to. But there is a celebration because there is 7 families and pets, not only families but pets, that were safe that night. So being able to acknowledge and recognize that is a big step, because not everybody wants to be the handsome hero who's like, woohoo, I'm saving the world, people. Get my picture left and right. Way. No. When you see, and that was what I was thinking, if I did not walk up, they would have been all dead. You can see the shiny side of it, but there is a dark side to it, which is it was my responsibility to ensure the safety of those families and pets. Is everybody going to sign up for that? I would not sign up for that. Or if I obviously sign up for it, but I would probably go sue the universe. Oh God, after I come back and say, we're going to have a conversation, dude. We're going to have a sit down here. But you understand the, how we say that, the heaviness in there, the job that had to be done, and I would not wake up. Okay, I would have been gone, that's fine. My dogs would have been gone, that's fine. As long as they follow me, I'm fine with that. But there were other people. So being able to celebrate and acknowledge for a moment that, yes, this is the kind of things that even though you felt you volunteer on something like that, but you did not, unconsciously, thank God, did not remember that until you're done with the action of doing it and said, wow, I saved my family, but I saved 7 other families and their pets, because we're not forgetting the pets on this one. But that's the kind of things that really transform someone and bring the gravity of a situation that could have turned the other way. Because by the time actually I saw the flame, a good portion of the roof actually was already burned. It was just ready to collapse. So you look at and examine things and understand the emotional power we have. That some celebration, we're going to be celebrating this. Yes, we were not celebrating this. Celebrating the small win. Maybe you did something. You decide to exercise, to do a walk, a 5-minute walk, a 10-minute walk. Celebrate that. Be proud of you for what you have done. It doesn't need to be, I went to Mount Everest, which I will not go. I'm going to tell you that because, first of all, they should pick up every dead body and bring them back down. But having to celebrate those small wins. Maybe it's healing a trauma. Maybe it's because it was traumatic actually to realize the burden I had to go to do it. And I'm like, okay, I did what I got to do. I got everybody out of the buildings. We make sure everybody was safe. We got everybody else's, blah, blah, blah. But you're looking at the emotional burden. And how can we transform this into something more positive? A lot of people don't acknowledge their little wins. Maybe you learned something today that you did not know. Somebody showed you something to use a software or something like that, and you're like, holy crap, this is awesome. This is what we're looking for. Looking at how can we really embrace ourselves in a way that really empowers us. Those are the kind of things that we should be able to really embrace. But we have such a lack of doing this, and we do all of the time, that we need to really open ourselves and said, okay, we can do this. We can celebrate one little wins. Because when you start to celebrate those small wins, that shows you how you're progressing in your life as well. It really inspires you. Maybe you're going to do a project at home. Like the first time I did, when I went to that was what, Home Depot. Oh, that was was many years ago. When I had the condo, actually, when I bought the condo, I'm like, did not like the walls colors. So what I did was wanted to repaint them, but I wanted to do the fall, and I did beautiful fall. One of them was amazing because it looks like what do you call it, wallpaper, and it wasn't a wallpaper. That's amazing. And I did happen to, they had what do you call it, a class or whatever they call it over there, and I was about faux, creating faux. And I'm like, perfect. Because I like the faux. You got the sponge style, you got the brush style. You have so many styles then you can do for the faux. And I was so inspired. I remember there was Ralph Lauren, what do you call it, brush, and I really liked. No, I did not pick it up and saved it. Too bad, that was in my garage, but no. And I really loved it because when I went, I got inspired. First of all, the hard work of removing, there was what, 2 layers of wallpaper. You never know what you're going to end up with when you remove wallpaper. It could be wallpaper after wallpaper after wallpaper. But I removed it, cleaned up the room, and I started to do the work, which was basically you split this in different panels and you do one panel, you leave the wall blank for the moment, you do the other panel, then after when it dries, you switch where the tapes are and you are doing the other panels, which look great actually. So those little steps, when you see the end goals, where you are, when you see the result, it's so inspiring. And you're like, okay, well, if I can do this, maybe I can learn to change faucets. Maybe I can learn like a software. Maybe I can learn to do a resume. Maybe I can learn fill out the blanks. What is empowering is that those small victories, those wins, you don't have to, way, we're going to celebrate around the world. You can do your own celebration at home. You can celebrate it by, I don't know, get an extra piece of something, get something you like to do, enjoy it, acknowledge it, being happy and say, well, this is for lunch, I'm going to do a little extra because I'm celebrating. To me, you don't have to have a parade on the front of your house to acknowledge your you could actually, but you don't have to acknowledge your wins. Just the fact that creating those small celebration helps a lot, because we talked about boosting your emotional powers, boosting your drive to do more. To me, when everything I've done so far, even working here on the garden, has been awesome for me because it really let me decide what I wanted to do. I took what was done and I've decided to make it maintenance free, meaning I found I had a huge patch of hostas and they grow on their own. They do what they want to do. And I'm like, okay, why don't I do around the center? I modify some of the stuff and I put hostas on strategic area that somebody should have done that before for what I saw to make it easier. So it grows every year. It's luscious. Changing, modifying it, doing things that really look around what you've got, utilize what you have, and put it together. Modify it, open things. One of the most amazing things that I've done, and that to me is a reward every morning. My best reward has been this one. I believe those were the nuns that used to be in a convent, because it used to be a convent where I'm at. And it's very interesting because I love iris. Iris flowers looks to me like, what did I call them already? I forgot. Orchids. The flower itself, if you're looking at iris and the orchids, I believe they are the same families, because when you're looking at the flowers itself, on some of the orchids and some of the iris, they are similar, except their textures are different. But I was looking at the iris and I discovered there is a bunch of patch on the property. And they were planted and very well maintained before the monks came here. Not saying the monks did not do a good job, but the volunteer that worked around and did things did not do the full clear up on some areas. So last year, my goal was to, and I achieved the goals. Actually, I was surprised. It took me a lot of time to do it, but cutting some weeds and trees that had nothing to do with the other trees, the pine, opening some areas, removing all of the weeds, cutting down those branches and everything else. So clear out the area. And I did the same by one area where I saw the iris. They were there, but they were not thriving last year because they were full of weeds. So the weeds prevented the growth. And earlier this year, what I did, because when they started to grow, I wait when they start to grow, so at least I don't damage them. So I started to clear up the weeds around, and man, they blew and just bloom very well. I'm amazed how tall they are, how many flowers there is. They are like last year were nothing compared to this year. It's night and day. On the huge patch, then I started to open up that patch, and what helps is last year I cut a bunch of weeds and near the trees where they are. I discovered just across from that path there is other patches of iris, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to open everything because it looks so beautiful. But the big reward for me, it's every morning when I walk or when I pass near it, you see them. It is beautiful. Those to me are the victories of the hard work pulled in. When you're looking at healing your trauma, forgiving people for what they have done to you, those are victories when you finally clicked and said, this is the past. I'm removing this. I am not carrying this on my shoulder anymore at all. I am freeing myself from it. It is the most powerful moment that you should celebrate. Take the time to celebrate yourself. Again, you don't have to have a parade going down by your house at all, but celebrate those moments. If you want to celebrate with people, do it, or celebrate on your own. Because for me, it's so essential to really validate your journey and how much accomplishment you have done. You don't have to blast it in people's face if they don't acknowledge. Who cares? I can guarantee, for me, that fire, I am not holding grudges for those people who have not said, oh, thank you for saving my life. Because it's not what it's all about. For me, it was doing what I was supposed to be doing and move on. But I like to talk about it just to explain to people, you don't have to put people accountable. If you're waiting for somebody to acknowledge anything and validate you, well, you're going to a spiral down and you're never going to evolve where you're supposed to evolve. But when you take the time to acknowledge what you have done, that's mean you're talking to your own self. You're acknowledging your soul. You're acknowledging your spirit. Yes, I see you. I see what I have done, and I'm grateful for it. You don't need any other validation than your own self and your own celebration. So again, you are worth it. You are doing better than you think you did. You can affirm that every day, because especially for those in healing, grieving, and rebuilding phase, it's you're doing better than you think. And I'm in my rebuilding phase. And I'm okay with that, because I needed the old to die in order for me to move on to something else better. And my transition that I'm doing has been amazing, difficult, painful, but phenomenal to look back for a moment and say, holy crap, I have done it. Acknowledge yourself and be proud of who you are and celebrate your progress. Even the one no one sees it. Not everybody's going to see it. Nobody's going to recognize it. Nobody's going to acknowledge it. Recognize your own achievement. All my love, guys, and we'll talk to you later. Bye now.
Universe Podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe Podcast. Emma's Universe Podcast.
Studio Stargazer.